What's up, everybody? Benji Bruce here. Today we're going to make it really simple. Today's a really simple day. We're just going to talk about other people. We're going to gossip, right? Actually, no, we're not going to gossip. We're going to talk about people gossiping. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be really simple in terms of, I like this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people." And so I essentially wanted to make this video because I wanted you guys to stop talking about people and start talking about ideas. So that's the whole purpose of this. We're going to see who's hopping on real quick. And if you guys have any questions, business questions, marketing questions, make sure you answer or ask them in general. But at first I wasn't going to make this video. Like I literally didn't want to make it because I don't care about gossip in general. I don't care about talking about it. Don't care. None of that stuff. Right. But for some reason, like in the past, a week or so, I've been getting a lot of emails in terms of people saying to me, like, what do you do if people are talking about you or people are talking bad about you and stuff like that, right? And in my head, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Who cares? They don't have that big of an effect on your life. They're not big enough to have a little effect, any type of effect on your life. It's not even a pebble in a pond. They're not even that big enough to have that type of effect in any way. And so I want to really talk about this in general. So I'm going to read that quote again, by Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people." This is a very, very true quote. And so today, like I said, it's going to be really, really simple. The problem with talking about other people. So here's the problem. If you hang around most people, what happens is the discussion is usually other people. That's literally what happens. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. That's literally the conversation. Women talk about men, men talk about women, other people just keep talking about each other all the time. And whenever I'm around this, I get bored. Like literally when someone starts talking like that, or I hear two people talking like that, I'm in a group, I hear two people talking like that, I get bored as all hell. And you should too. The reason you should get bored is because it does nothing to move you towards your goals. Absolutely nothing. There is a purpose to gossip, but without that purpose, it literally should just bore the hell out of you. You should not be talking about other people. You should be talking about your ideas. You should be talking about what it is you're doing, your goals, your ambitions, that sort of stuff. That's what you should be talking about. The reason people tend to gossip is just because it makes them feel superior. So it's like they know something that you don't, or they know something about this person. So it just makes them feel superior in some sort of way. Hey, I got this information they don't really know about. Oh my goodness. Right. So it's like a secret. I mean, and so you just have to think along the lines of, if it doesn't move you towards your goal, there's literally no reason to talk about it. There's literally no purpose behind it. And so, you have to understand that if you're gossiping about other people, because I mean, you're like, oh, what's that? I heard a secret. Oh my goodness, right? So if you're gossiping about other people, you have to understand that you are literally wasting your time, like literally wasting your time. The time you spend talking about someone is time you could be spent thinking and talking about what it is you should be doing to grow your business, to just take it up a notch, right? Or just goals in general, health goals, whatever goals you have, right? Understand that you won't remember the person you're talking about a year from now. So you just won't. A year from now, 2 years, or even better, when you're freaking 80 years old, 90 years old, you're on your deathbed or whatever, right? You literally will not think about that. That is not something you will think about. It's not something you will talk about. You do not care about that stuff. They don't care about you, the person you were talking about. None of it actually matters. And I got to stress this because I remember I got caught up in this once. So, it was years ago when I was performing at the Magic Castle, right? I don't know how many years ago, but it was years ago when I was performing at the Magic Castle, right? And normally I've always been in the state of mind where I don't really gossip about people. Like I've just always been in that state of mind. But a friend of mine told me about this celebrity, a well-known celebrity, and he was like, "Oh yeah, dude's bipolar and stuff." And I was like, "Oh man, what?" And so when I was at the castle, I was with another entertainer, and the guy mentioned the celebrity. Like he was like, "Oh, so-and-so came here." And immediately out of my mind, I was like, "Oh man, I heard he was bipolar." Like, right? And so, and then he called me out on it. He was like, "Oh man," he's like, "Yeah, you don't really want to talk about that sort of stuff. You never really know what people are going through, all that." And I was like, "Damn it, Benji, you should have known better." Like that. The one time I gossiped, the dude called me out on it, right? And I just never gossip. And so That's essentially one. Those are the type of people you want to be around in general, but also like the people who stop you from gossiping. But also, you just don't want to do it because it doesn't help you in any sort of way. Like literally in no way. Your opinions, it doesn't affect someone else's life. Like it literally doesn't. It just doesn't, right? Unless you are, let's say you're a judge, right? If you're a judge, then of course your opinion is going to affect somebody's life. So you just have to think along the lines of, does your opinion affect their life or does their opinion affect your life? If their opinion affects your life, then sure, maybe you want to pay attention to it. But you need to get in a position yourself where nobody's opinions affect your life. Trump is actually a perfect example of this. Trump is in a position, even before he was president, he was in a position where nobody's opinions affected his life. He's like, I make so much money that I don't care what you think about me. Carl Icahn, same dude. Not same guy, but Carl Icahn, multi-billionaire. The dude has a horrible reputation in his industry, but he doesn't care. Like he's in a position where other people's opinions don't affect his life in that way. And so you have to understand that not only should you put yourself in a position where other people's opinions don't affect your life, but you need to understand that if you're talking about other people, that your opinion does not affect their life in any way. And so it's not about talking about other people. You are literally wasting your time. It's called mindshare. So mindshare is basically how much thinking you're doing about something, right? So the more thinking you do, the more mindshare you're creating. So it's like all this space in your head is focusing on another person's business or whatever. And so you're basically using up mindshare. You're using up your thoughts on this person's business or whatever it is. You're using up your thoughts for no apparent reason when you should be using up your thoughts to figure out, how am I going to create a new ad? How am I going to get people to sign up to my email list? Or how am I going to do the outreach a little bit better, right? So you need to understand that you're literally just wasting your time. Understand that. What the hell did I write there? Talk about. Okay. Yes. I was like, what the hell? All right. So what I want to say next is in terms of when you talk about successful people around successful people, or when you just talk about people around successful people, here's what happens. You lose all trust. Like every piece of trust that you could possibly have gotten, you lose it all. The reason is because super successful people have secrets, whether it's secrets about business, like tax evasion, sorta, they have secrets, right? So when you talk about other people, you lose their trust. They will sit there, they will smile at you. They'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, okay. And then in the back of their mind, like, I can't tell this motherfucker anything, right? That's what's going on inside of their brain. They're like, oh, I can't tell this person anything. This person's a gossip person, right? So that's what's happening inside of their brain. So you lose their trust. You can no longer talk with them. They'll no longer talk with you about anything of importance. And so you have to understand that when you're actually gossiping about people, it doesn't really matter what it is. Something that I would do a lot, and this is something I still do, I call it just talking good about people behind their back. This is something that I do all the time, right? So a lot of people, they'll talk bad about someone behind their back. I do the exact opposite. I talk good about people behind their back because I know it's going to get to them. Right. And so it's like when you talk bad about someone behind their back, it usually gets to them. They're like, oh, so-and-so said this about you. Whereas if you talk good behind their back, it'll usually get to them as well. Especially if you talk good behind their back to a person who actually knows them. And so that's what I tend to do a lot. And that actually builds a lot of trust and everything. So it's really important that the more you talk about somebody behind their back, whether you're talking about a successful person's here, you're talking to the successful person, and you're talking about all these other people, you're instantly going to lose trust. Like instantly, doesn't matter what you say to this successful person, doesn't matter if it's true, if it's juicy gossip, doesn't matter what it is, the successful person will think, I can't trust this person. I just can't. And so that's what's going to happen. The only time you should essentially be talking about other people is to further your goals. That's literally the only time. This is what's called newsjacking, or like essentially hijacking a name. A lot of people do this on YouTube. So Joe Rogan is actually a master of this. Like Joe Rogan, in fact, I think he built this podcast probably based on this. What he does is he basically has his opinions about everything. So he's like, what it is? What's a recent thing that popped up? I don't know. So Kevin Spacey, right? All right. So Kevin Spacey did his thing, probably going to go to jail and everything, right? So Joe Rogan, he'll essentially say, Joe Rogan's reaction to Kevin Spacey. And then bam, like he hijacks it, and he's doing it for a purpose. So it's not like he's just doing it just to do it. He's doing it because he understands that by doing that, hey, Kevin Spacey's in the headlines right now. Hey, people are going to Google Kevin Spacey or go to YouTube, type in Kevin Spacey, and bam, his thing is going to pop up. So there's a reason behind what he's doing. He's furthering his own business goals, basically talking about other people. And so that's kind of one thing that you can do, but also you got to be careful of that as well, because you probably will get sued eventually if you do that enough. If you come across the wrong person, you will get sued. And I actually saw this, a guy who was talking about, Grant Cardone, actually. Grant Cardone, big sales guy, if you don't know who he is. So almost like a billionaire, maybe a billionaire. I don't know, but he makes a lot of money, right? And so the guy, what he did is he tried to hijack Grant Cardone's name. So he was actually putting out headlines and all this stuff like, oh, Grant Cardone exposed. Oh, he's a scam and all that sort of stuff, right? So I watched a couple of his videos. I was like, what? And so next thing I know, the dude got sued by Grant Cardone. I'm like, see, he deserved that, to be honest. Like, if you talk trash about somebody like that, and you get sued, it's going to happen to you eventually. So you don't want to do that like online if you're sitting there talking trash about somebody in any sort of way. You just want to be very careful about that, because you can get sued, especially if you're playing against a big player. So you just want to, there's literally just no reason to talk bad about people in general. So basically, gossip does serve a purpose. I can't remember which book I was reading, but it actually mentioned gossip. It was like gossip actually did serve a purpose, and it kind of does still serve a purpose, because in a way, it kind of does help you with someone's reputation in a way, but still you need to become the type of person who understands a person's reputation, but still makes a decision on your own. I literally just watched a video yesterday on, I forgot the dude's name, but he transferred to the Lakers, and Kobe Bryant, right? So Kobe Bryant had a pretty intense reputation with the Lakers, because Kobe Bryant's mentality is like, hey man, if you're not operating at the level of a champion, we're going to have problems. Like, that's just a fact. If you think that you're going to let me do all the work and you're not going to practice, you're not going to operate at high level, we're going to have problems. So Kobe had problems with a lot of people in the NBA. And so this guy, he was like, yeah, I mean, I heard that when they transferred me over to the Lakers. I heard about Kobe and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of people didn't really like him, but he became really close friends with Kobe, because he said, look, man, I don't really care about a person's reputation. I simply just listen to him. I see if I like him. If I do, cool. Right. And so you want to get to that level to where it doesn't really matter what another person says about another person. You simply make a decision for yourself with everything. Of course, there are times when you still gotta like be aware, right? So it's like there's a guy where he's known to screw people over. Like there's this guy, that I always hear about. Like, he's just known to screw people over. And so I think in terms of, man, if I ever did business with him, I would always handle the money every single time. Like, there's no doubt about it. If he said, look, Benji, we can do business and blah, 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 and yeah, we're going to make $1 million every single day. They're just going to come through my system, then I'll pay you your money. I'll say, absolutely not. I'm going to handle the money. They're going to go through my system, and I'm going to pay you your half. It's not going to be the other way around. So even if I were to do business with this person, even if I were to like them no matter what, I would still say, no, I'm going to handle the money. And so it's just one of those things where gossip, it can serve a purpose in a way, but only when it's usually business related. There's no reason to talk about people just to talk about people. You want to talk about, if you're going to talk about somebody, there has to be a purpose behind it. Like what Joe Rogan does. Joe Rogan, I mean, the dude is like a master at it. I mean, freaking whenever anything pops up, the dude newsjacks everything. Every person's name, when it pops up, he newsjacks everything, says Joe Rogan's opinion on so-and-so, right? And so the dude has a huge following based on that alone. What you ultimately want to do instead of just gossiping in general is you got to start hanging around people who are way above you. Like, I'm talking about way above you. If you're doing 50 grand a year, you want to hang around people who are doing 5 million a year, right? You want to hang around people who are way above you. I remember years ago, when I don't know how much I was making. I wasn't making a lot, but it was like years ago when I was only doing restaurant magic. I was hanging around this poker player. And so this poker player, he was making a ton of, well, he was making way more than me. I mean, he was only doing like $250,000 or something, but still he was making way more than me at the time. And this was at the time when I was hanging around people who were like me doing, I don't know, 50 grand a year or something like that. Or I don't know how much I was making a year, to be honest, but, it was like I wasn't making a lot. He was making way more than me. So I was hanging around this guy. And I remember the time when taxes came along, and, I was like, oh, how much are you getting back in taxes? And he looked at me, he was like, I'm not getting anything back. I gotta pay them money. He's like, I make too much. And I was like, huh? And like, I don't know why I thought everybody got money back in taxes. I was like, huh? Oh, so what? Huh? And so that's when it hit me, like little things like that, to where I was like, oh, okay. Basically, if you get money back from taxes, you're broke. If you have to pay taxes, then you're actually making a lot of money. And that is how it actually is, to be honest. And so the conversation tends to be different when you hang around super successful people. When you're around successful people, conversations tend to be about business, marketing, that sort of stuff. Like when my friend Yannick was here, I mean, we were sitting there talking about funnels, all sorts of stuff, funnels, copy, all that. I mean, he just came on my computer. He was like, all right, I got to finish this funnel real quick for a client. Bam. So we're like talking about the copy to this vacation thing and all that sort of stuff. So the conversations are really different. When another friend of mine, I mean, they were at, Aria, it was like I don't know, some really nice spot in Aria. I don't know if it was a penthouse or whatever, but we were there. It was nice as all hell. We're talking about, instead of talking about people, we're talking about marketing, taxes, all that sort of stuff, like business, presentation skills, all that sort of stuff. We're not talking about your everyday average conversation. You got to understand that you need to start hanging around people who are way above you. So the conversations are very different. So your brain starts thinking very different. Your brain should literally tune out when people start talking about boring stuff. Your brain should tune out when people start gossiping, because gossip to you becomes boring. To other people, gossip is juicy as all hell because they've got nothing else going on in their lives, so they have to talk about other people's lives. So if you are actually hanging around the right people, what happens is the conversations become different and you naturally feel inspired to do more. So like when I first started hanging around super successful people, I feel like that's a tongue twister, super successful people. But when I started hanging around those types of people, what would happen is I naturally felt inspired because I was like, oh, you got to step up your game, Benji. What the hell? This dude's making like freaking 10 million a year. You need to step up your damn game, right? So that's what would happen to me. And I'm looking at ideas with this person. I'm like, how are you? Like, what are you guys doing? I mean, you guys are doing like $1 million a month. Like, I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing different from me? Oh, we got phone sales in place. And here's how our phone thing. Oh, so I mean, what's the script, right? So the conversations are really, really different. You just have to start doing that. If you can't be in person with people, super successful people, like if you can't hang around them, then what you have to do is you have to kind of see them and learn from them from a distance. And you have to pay attention to how they talk from a distance. So whether that's like at events or even YouTube videos or whatever, books, whatever it is, you're essentially watching them from a distance. I'll tell you right now, books are probably the best thing that you should do is read a lot of biographies. So don't just read like motivational books and all that. Read a lot of biographies, because biographies, you get to see both sides of the coin. The problem that I've always had with motivational books is it only kind of shows you one side of the coin. It doesn't show you reality. Whereas biographies tend to show you, oh, this super successful person, they freaking, they were crazy or they were almost depressed, or like Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, the dude like almost had a mental breakdown, like literally almost had a mental breakdown, building his company, the SpaceX and the Tesla and the Solar City thing. Like when it was about to go bankrupt, I think it was going to go bankrupt like a week from now. Like literally he only had a week to actually raise some money and he almost had a mental breakdown. That's the stuff that you never hear about inside of motivational videos, motivational books, none of that. They don't talk about that stuff. They don't talk about burnout. They don't talk about that stuff. And so, when you read biographies, you naturally start to see that stuff. And so you start to see what actually happens behind the scenes. And so it's really, really important that you do that instead of gossiping about people, about anything in general. You essentially have to become the type of person that other people want to do business with. You will not become that person by gossiping about other people. You just won't. Because like I said, a successful person will see that. They'll see you talking about somebody else and they'll think, oh, so if I tell this person my secret, they're going to talk about me behind my back as well. Even though you can say to this person, oh yeah, I mean, I don't really gossip, but I got to tell you this thing. Even if you do that, still what's going to happen is they will not trust you. They just absolutely won't. So if you want to actually hang around successful people, You have to think along the lines of, how do I become the type of person that they want to do business with? Number one, you do not gossip ever. Like, just don't. I mean, there's a guy, this guy, Larry, actually, Larry Benet. So I normally don't mention names, but Larry, cool guy, right? And I was talking with Larry, and I can't remember like how the conversation happened, but he said something. He was like, oh yeah, no, I don't really talk about like any of that stuff. Like, he literally just shut it down. Like, someone was saying something. He's like, no, I don't talk about people. Like, you could try to pull teeth from this guy. Like, oh no, I mean, just tell me, like, from a business standpoint, like, you could try to pull teeth from him. He's like, no, I don't do that. I don't talk about that sort of stuff. And I was like, damn, that's cool, right? And so that's the kind of person you want to be. Like, you want to do things like that. When it comes up, people say, well, what do you think about this dude? I mean, did you hear about this? You're like, no, I don't really talk about that. Like, that literally what Larry did. That's exactly what you do. Like, I don't really talk about that stuff. Right. So that when you do that, you become a type of person that other successful people want to be around. And you also have to think along the lines of, what value do you provide? If the only value you provide is talking about other people, you will not hang around successful people. You have to provide some type of value in some type of way, whether that's information inside of your brain, like you got knowledge that they don't have. You're like, hey man, here's how you do taxes, so you don't pay like $1 million in taxes, right? You only pay $50,000 in taxes. So some type of information in your mind, something. Mark Cuban, I remember, what was it in his book? I think it was in his book. So Mark Cuban was talking about when he had his first job, and it was like about computers and everything. And everyone would come up to people in the store, and they would ask just technical questions like, hey, how do I do this with the computer? How do I do this? How do I do that? And so a lot of people, they didn't really know the answers. The people who worked there, they didn't know the answers. Mark Cuban knew the answers to pretty much everything. And the reason he knew the answer is because he just freaking read the book. Like, he was like, I think I was the only person here who actually read the book, because everyone else, like, they didn't read, so they didn't know the answer. He simply read, and he knew all the answers. And so that's why he was absolutely confused when people would say things like, how do you do this? And he's thinking, that's in the book. Like, what? And so that made him insanely valuable. Everybody came up to him. Hey man, everybody was asking him questions just because he just read a freaking book. Like, that's all he literally did. You have to think along the lines of, how do I become valuable? Your value has to go above and beyond just normal gossip. Your value can also be just your personality, to be honest. I mean, you can have great personality, but personality, it will only get you so far, by the way. So you can have a great personality. People will still talk to you. But when people do business with you, they still got to think, is this a person that I got to do business with? Is this a person I want to do business with? What exactly can they offer me, type thing in business? So no matter how cool you are, if they don't see you as someone to do business with, they won't do business with you. They'll be like, oh, that's a cool friend, but still, in terms of business, I don't really know. And so you have to provide some type of value other than gossiping about people. I can't stress this enough in terms of gossip, how bad it is. The only reason you gossip about other people is because you have nothing going on inside of your life. The only reason other people gossip about you is because they have nothing else going on inside of their lives. So you have to keep doing things, keep yourself busy to a point where even if you wanted to gossip, you simply can't. Elon Musk, perfect example. If someone were to come up to him, they'd be like, hey, Elon, did you hear that thing with Kevin Spacey and all? Elon's gonna be like, look, shut up. We just had to lay off employees. We got 2 rocket launches lined up. I'm talking with NASA. I'm talking with the president. I'm dealing with Tesla's things going on right now. I don't have time to talk about Kevin Spacey. All right. Who the hell is this dude? I don't care about what he is. I don't care. Right. And so that's essentially where you need to be at, to where it's the only purpose of gossip is when you're going to do business with people, when you're truly trying to understand, let's say, someone's state of mind, like let's say you're trying to figure out how billionaires think, and you're not around billionaires, and you know this person is around billionaires. So let's say you know John Doe, he's hanging around billionaires or something. So you're like, John, how does Elon Musk like work? I mean, like what's his day? Like what's his schedule like? I mean, how does he really operate? What's he like behind the scenes? That's the only time that you should actually pay attention to gossip. That's the only time you should ever gossip. But the only reason for that is because you are getting information. That's the only reason. It's more information getting. You're not even gossiping. It's more just getting information, to be honest. That's all you're doing. The second they get off topic, like, oh, dude, Elon Musk mofo's crazy. The dude is like insane. At that point, you're like, I don't care. How does he structure his day, right? And so that's essentially what should happen to you. So I just wanted to keep it short, keep it simple for today. If there are any questions about just marketing in general, Just make sure you ask. Actually, there are no questions about the marketing, probably because we didn't talk about marketing today. All right, so let's see. All right, so we got that. All right, cool. All right, so we are good to go for today. Let's see what's going on tomorrow. All right, so tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. We're just going to talk business, talk marketing, talk motivation, whatever we need to freaking talk about to get you to grow your business, to influence people, to make more sales, whatever it is you need to do. So that's what we're going to talk about in general. I can't stress this enough in terms of the gossip thing. I know it makes you feel good. I know it's juicy when you hear about someone else's business. It simply doesn't do anything for you. It does not matter. It literally doesn't. You are literally wasting your time every second you talk about other people. Literally every second. So whatever you do, don't gossip about other people. If other people are gossiping about you, in fact, I'll probably make a whole other video on this. I'm just not giving a damn about what people think about you. But that's essentially the mindset that you got to be in when other people gossip about you. You simply have to understand that they're not big enough to have an effect on your life. Like, they're just not. Like, literally, it's not even a pebble in a pond. It's like a grain of sand. It's like, doesn't even make any sort of movement whatsoever. It's like, you take a little grain of sand, throw it in a big ass lake or something. Like, that's it. I don't know which one's bigger, a lake or a pond, but, a pebble of sand inside of an ocean. There we go. So that's literally what happens. You got to understand that people that when they talk about you, they're simply not big enough to affect you unless they are. If it's someone like freaking Mark Cuban talking about you, you're probably screwed at that point. But usually most of the times it's with people who just, it doesn't matter. Like, it literally doesn't matter. All right. So let's see. Reggie's got a business question here. When you quote your fee and a customer goes, when you quote your fee and a customer goes you, how soon should you reach back out to them? Oh, ghosts. I'm assuming you meant ghosts. All right. So when you quote your fee and a customer ghosts you, how soon should you reach back out to them? So Reggie, what you need to do, I mean, if you're a member inside the program, there's actually a list of, email templates inside of there. When you quote your fee, just use those templates for follow-ups. All you're doing is you're just creating follow-ups. That's all you do. So you have, let's say 5 series of follow-ups, 4 or 5 follow-up email templates. And all you do is you just put those in place. That's all you do if you're a member. If you're not a member, then that's what you do. Create follow-ups, create 4 or 5 different follow-up templates that you can use when people don't respond. You send a contract out, they don't respond, just say, all right, here's what I'm going to do when they don't respond. That's all you have to do at that point. I'll tell you the last thing that I do when, I think it's maybe the 4th or 5th one. I don't know. The last one that I do when I send a contract out, I can't remember word for word what it is off the top of my head, but it says something like, I'm going to assume this is a no-go, so I'm going to give the date to somebody else. And it's not a question of, do you still want the date or anything like that. I don't ask a question. I make a statement. And I say, hey, man, I assume this is a no-go, so I'm just going to give it to somebody else. And then, bam, you're done. Like, I don't ever talk to them ever again at that point. So that's kind of what happens at that point. Let's see. Jamie said, I really need to hear that one gossip about me. The gossip about you, it's actually funny. I'm going to probably create maybe next week or something. I'll probably create one on that because the gossiping about you, you just got to understand that people, their opinions literally do not matter. Like, that's what you just have to understand is that their opinions do not matter. When you are on your deathbed or even better, let's say you went to the freaking doctor today and you were told you have cancer. Would you give a damn what anybody says about you? Like, you wouldn't give a damn. Hey, you got cancer, you're going to die in 3 months. At that moment, you'd be like, dude, I don't give a damn what anybody says about me. Like, literally nobody. So you can talk all you want. It just doesn't matter. And so you got to think along those lines. You got to think along the lines of, if you're 80 years old, you're 90 years old, you're like, you're old as all hell, right? You got to think along those lines in terms of, are you really going to care? Hey, you live most of your life. It's like, hey man, I don't really care what you think. It doesn't matter. And so that's essentially what has to happen. All right. So we are good to go for today. I will see you guys, 9 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. Barry, you showed up late. And Barry, I was handing out Ferraris, Lamborghinis. Sorry about that, Barry. I don't know what's up with you. You showed up late. You didn't get a Ferrari. You didn't get a Lamborghini. I even handed out a private jet. Sorry about that, Barry. Let's see. Reggie said, my father said, I don't mind the gossip. I like the free advertising. Yeah, the gossip, that is actually, what it is in terms of gossip. It is free advertising. there's a reason why Trump doesn't care what people say about him. Well, he pays attention to it, but he doesn't care because Trump understands the whole concept of there's no such thing as bad publicity. Houdini understood this, P.T. Barnum, all of them understood this. There's no such thing as bad publicity. The only bad publicity is when it's illegal, right? That's the only type of bad publicity, because when it's illegal, now you get publicity, now you guys are getting thrown in prison at that point. But if you're not doing anything illegal, if it's just normal gossip about you, then it doesn't really matter. It's like all advertising, all publicity is good publicity. That's the state of mind that you essentially want to be in. All right. Let's see. Barry said, give me my car or I'll talk about you. Hey, Barry, I don't care. All right. So let's see. Greg said, you read my mind about Trump. Yep. Love it when I make these videos. Yep. Cool. All right. So we are good to go for today. I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.